And welcome to another edition of Must See MGTV. I'm Christopher Michael. This time around we're going to be talking about something that, well, we hope will warm your heart, because certainly the weather hasn't been very cooperative in that. As we tape this, it is mid-April, and it was just yesterday that we had snow. So now we're going to think about something that'll take us perhaps through the warmer months and warm our hearts, and that's the Morton Grove Farmers Market. To that end, we'll be talking with a couple of Morton Grove residents who are very instrumental in the farmers market. First, we have Kristina Otte. She is really the driving force behind the farmers market. She's been involved since the very beginning of it. And Jacqueline Liston, who is the executive director of the Morton Grove Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce also very much involved in the farmers market. So we'll start with Kristina. Welcome both of you to our program.
Thank you.
Kristina, for those who may be new to Morton Grove, when did the farmers market start here?
The market originally started last year in May of 2010. We formed a group back in 2009 where we decided just to come together and see if people were interested in forming a market, and we had a tremendous outpouring of interest immediately from the very first time we had a meeting, and we created it within the course of a year, from about August of 2009 to May of 2010. So that last year was our first year.
How'd it go?
It was great. Over the past year, I've gotten to know a lot of other market managers from around Chicagoland, and I think it's just talking to a lot of different managers, you can tell that we've had a pretty successful year. We had 16 vendors last year. We had a lot of different produce. We had, a building customer base every week. So it was a really successful market for a first-year market, especially. So.
It starts out, of course, when it's still kind of cold out,
Yeah.
so there aren't a whole lot of vendors there the first few weeks. When is the first week this year?
Well, our first official day is June 4th. It's going from June 4th till about October 15th. And again, June 4th is kind of early for Illinois farmers. There's not a lot of produce really in the fields yet, but we're still going to have all of our vendors there right from the beginning, and they're going to have things like asparagus and lettuces and things like that, really early seasonal kind of crops. But all of our vendors will be there from the beginning, and we're actually having a May Mother's Day kind of a festival on May 7th. At the market, which is the Saturday of Mother's Day. So we'll be having a lot of extra vendors that day too. So.
Well, speaking of that event, I know there are a lot of special events. Let's talk about that one first. What would people expect to see there in the first weekend of May?
Oh, as far as we're going to have a whole bunch of different things. We're having all sorts of early produce. We're going to have bedding plants for people who like to garden. I don't know if you like to garden, but we'll have flowers.
I do, but the plants don't like it very much.
Same thing in my garden. We'll have a whole bunch of things. We're going to have a lot of gifts as well, because it's Mother's Day and you don't want to forget your moms or grandmothers. So we'll have a lot of different things like note cards and, oh my goodness, gift baskets and homemade jewelry from people right here in Morton Grove. Plus all of our regular vendors. We have 20 vendors this year, so we're going to have all 20 there, plus gift vendors as well. So that'll be a big day. Now,
you mentioning 20 vendors, that means that's a fairly good increase from what we had the year before.
Yeah.
How's the Chamber of Commerce involved with the farmers market, Jackie?
Well, we are the primary sponsor of the market, and obviously, first and foremost, we work to promote our members there, so we try to pass out little gifts from our members to the patrons, like keychains and coupons and things like that.
We have in Morton Grove a variety of stores that deal in produce and some that deal in these gift items. What is it that makes the farmers market special?
Oh, I think it's just sort of a nice place for it. I have noticed that we bring in a lot of people who are just starting their own businesses, and so it's a nice place for really small businesses to come in and start their own market, I guess. Last year we had a woman who started a thing called Joy and Pure Honey Nut Snacks, and her name is Joyce Chen, and she's a local Morton Grove resident, lived here for 30 years, I think, and she always had a dream of just creating a business where she made healthy honey-based snacks, and the market was where she started her business, and now she's selling them all over town. So that's one, and then we have another person who's new this year, also another Morton Grove resident selling her own handmade chocolate things. So it's just the market's just a nice place to allow local folks to create their own businesses, which is a great tie-in with the Chamber of Commerce. It's been a great thing. So.
And for the consumer, who knows that they can go to the grocery and get strawberries, they can get
Sure.
blackberries, they can get those things at the store. What makes the farmers market so special for them? And I already know the answer. But
it's the freshness. It's the amazing quality of freshness you get when you can, you're not going to get mangoes at the market, of course, because we don't have mangoes in Illinois, of course, but we get a chance to get to know what the seasons are in Illinois, and get to actually eat the produce that's picked the night before or the morning, right before they get to come to the market. So the produce is just fresh and much tastier. It's nice to get to know where your food comes from too,
As one of the sponsors of the farmers market, how is the Chamber of Commerce involved in keeping things going? What all do you do? Well,
lots of things.
I know there are probably too many things to mention.
Yeah.
But one thing as a sponsor, I know that you're also involved in making sure that the space was available and working with the village and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely say just the chamber gives us an incredible sort of platform for publicity in town. The chamber is obviously a link with all the businesses in town that are involved, and they get the word out to everybody in town as far as what's happening. And it's just sort of a natural link that, we're here to support local businesses, and that's what the chamber does. So it's just a nice tie-in. So,
have you found good support from the businesses? And when you mention farmers market, do they get excited about it too?
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of our restaurants are actually going out of their way to do like kickback days for the market. I know Crazy Jaws just recently did one. El Sol Restaurant is doing one. And it's just a great way to bring our community together and bring up that great spirit that we have throughout Morton Grove.
How do you go about getting the people to sell their produce at our farmers market?
Well, last year I was frankly worried, how are we going to find vendors? How are we going to get people to come to our market at the beginning, because we're new. But there is kind of a glut. There's so many farmers out there who want to get into markets, and there's really not that many markets to meet all the need of all the farmers. So the first year it was kind of difficult just looking around for new farmers, but this second year has been phenomenal. We have farmers who have been calling us asking to get into our market. So the word has kind of come out that we're a pretty strong market. So,
do you have the same people coming back we had last year?
Yeah, I think about 90% of the vendors we had last year are returning. We have the knife sharpener couldn't come this year. He's too busy with other things this year, which is kind of sad because he was kind of fun to chat up and watch your knife getting sharpened right there on the spot. But he won't be returning. But for the most part, we have almost all of our vendors returning. So, and then a whole bunch of new ones.
So what are some of the new vendors that we can expect to see?
I'm a little excited about this. We have new orchards and a couple new farms. We also have a guy who's going to be selling crepes occasionally. He's going to make crepes right there on the spot. Not every week, but mostly for our festivals. So that's just going to be delicious. We have a new olive oil person. She makes gourmet olive oils. She creates her own things at home. We have, oh my goodness, so many. Let me look over. We have Whole Earth Meats. That's what I'm excited about. Whole Earth Meats is a meat company, a local meat company from Chicago that actually sells halal meat. So it's Muslim approved meat, I guess you could say. So all the people in town who are Muslims can come in and actually purchase meat that's appropriate for their religion. So it's kind of a nice thing. And then we also are going to have lunches available at the market as well.
Oh.
Yeah, one of our vendors who was here last year, who sold the salsas, he's also going to be selling lunches at the market. So I can't really say any more, but it's going to be delicious.
Well, their salsa was very good, I know that.
Yeah, they're well known.
Actually, I can't think of anything that I bought at the farmer's market that wasn't good.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that maybe consumers look forward to, because when you go into the grocery, especially when you're buying things like peaches, for me, peaches is the watermark as to whether or not produce is good, because a lot of times the grocery store peaches are awful.
Right. Depending on the season again.
Yeah, you buy them and you say, why did I spend my money on this? When you go to the farmer's market, that's not the way it is.
Yeah, because things are directly right off the tree or right off the, out of the ground, so it's really fresh, yeah.
You mentioned about the halal meat. Also, there's the concern a lot of people have about things being organic.
Yeah.
So you have any organic vegetable producers?
there's a lot of discussion right now in the country actually about what organic means, and the USDA, of course, has a strict policy of what it means to be certified organic, and you have to be, I think, go through a whole series of tests after about 3 years. So we don't actually have anybody who's certified organic, USDA certified, but all of our farmers use natural growing practices in different ways. They use, either no pesticides, or they use, manure from their own farms, to use for fertilizer. They kind of go back to the old ways. So it's, it's a kind of a nice way to return to. We've actually been out to Benhart Farms, which Benhart Farm in Wisconsin, and that's where we get all our original meat vendor, and he has meat and he has cows and chickens, and we've actually been able to play with the chickens and feed the chickens. My kids have fed the chickens, and you can see that they're actually free range eggs. They're not stuffed in little containers, like a lot of chickens are that you get at the market, at the regular grocery store.
We touched briefly on getting the market started and how you had a meeting with citizens who might be interested in this, which brings to mind, whenever you put something like this together, you've got to have a mission. What do you see as the mission of the farmers market?
That's been really, really critical, I think, in making it successful, I think, is because our committee really has a strong sense of what our mission is. I think a lot of us originally decided that we wanted to make it a community center. Morton Grove has lots of different community centers, the library or the park district or different places around town, Super Cup Coffee. So many great places to hang out, but I think we all wanted to create a place that was, people could all come together, and what brings people together more than good food, So it's a nice place that we wanted to provide local food, provide a place for local businesses to sell their own homemade or, locally based items, as well as showcase all the great things that there are in Morton Grove. Nonprofit groups can always come in and show what they're doing, like the Friends of the Forest Preserve or the Friends of the Library. Lots of different groups come in and have a table at the market and show what there is to do in Morton Grove. Businesses are sponsors, for the market, so it's just a really nice place. There's music. There's so many things happening every weekend. Face painting, if you want to get your face painted, come on down. So many different things that kids can do and families can do. So that's what we kind of envisioned, was a community center.
Talk about the entertainment. What kind of things can people expect to see?
This year we're going to have, there's going to be live music. We have all sorts of different musicians from around town. From Skokie, we have a gymnast group from Skokie that wants to come and perform some feats, apparently. A whole bunch of different groups from, family groups and they all play for free. They all play pro bono. They all play without any money involved, which is really generous of them. A lot of markets actually have their own funding for musicians to come in, but we don't have that, so they're all doing it out of the goodness of their heart. So it's pretty great.
The money thing is an interesting thing, because you've got a space that you have to set everything up in. That wouldn't seem like it would come for free, and if it does, thank you to the business that donates.
Right.
But what does it cost the village or the farmers market organization to put this on?
Not too much, but enough.
Well, that
yes.
nails it down, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the site where we have our market right now, it's next to the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute, right on Waukegan, right north of Dempster. And the property owners have been really, really generous. They gave us the property. All we had, we just had to pay for some legal fees, but they're donating the lot to us 2 years in a row now, which has been really wonderful. So there's no fees really there so much, but it's more about the publicity. We have to pay for our publicity. We want to get the word out to everybody in town and the surrounding neighborhoods what's going on. Equipment, we have to pay for tables and tents and a porta potty, all sorts of things that we all need to have, at the market to sustain it. So.
Now, what time do you have to start setting up in the morning?
Around 5 or 5:30 is when most of us get there, and the vendors get there sometimes before we do. They start setting up about 5 or 5:30, and it takes a couple hours to get all the tents up and get the music going, or get the music ready to get going. And I will have to definitely mention the EMA right now, the Emergency Management Agency in Morton Grove here. They're there from the beginning until the end, and after we're all done. They come in every week and provide us electricity, They provide us security and safety in terms of parking. They help out whenever there's storms. Last year there were some famous storms, and then they helped us with those kind of situations. So if they were not there, it would be really hard for us to keep on going.
And you folks recently gave them an award as a thank you.
Yeah. At Village Hall a few weeks ago, we that was the least we could do, was provide them with a physical show of gratitude. We gave them a plaque, but we need to do more to say thank you. And they're all volunteers. It's amazing what they do.
So I think if anybody runs into anyone who's working at the market and they're part of the EMA group, it'd be a nice thing to thank them for what they're doing. So something to keep in mind as you're strolling through the vegetables.
Yes, for sure.
Jackie, how can the community become more involved in the farmers market?
Well, first and foremost, through volunteerism. If you just have a half hour or an hour to spare to help us with setup or cleanup, or stand at the welcome booth and greet the patrons, and then obviously through sponsorships, every little bit helps for this. But mostly this is a volunteer-driven organization, and if you'd like to get involved in the committee, you can obviously contact me or Kristina at the Chamber office at 847-965-0330.
And that number one more time?
847-965-0330.
Now, we have a lot of sponsors who are involved in that, and their names everyone will have a chance to see at the end of the program. But we'd like to mention some of those now, if you wouldn't mind.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, first and foremost is, of course, the Morton Grove Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They're our parent organization. They're our primary sponsor, so without them, we couldn't exist, I don't think. And of course, the Village of Morton Grove has been tremendously supportive in helping us publicize it and get the word out, and support us with the EMA and everything. So, and so many different organizations. I can't even describe them all. It's a lot of community support.
When you say people are calling to get into the market, how do you decide who can come and who can't? And that's got to be tough.
That's a hard but wonderful decision. Last year was, we were fighting to get vendors, and now this year we're turning people away. So our primary focus is on keeping it as local as we can, and producer only, which basically means make sure that you make your own product. On our Mother's Day sale, we have like a local guy who's selling his homemade soaps and body products that he makes. He's from Morton Grove, so we like that he made his own things. They're naturally made without some negative things that might go into soaps, as well as less packaging. So it just kind of worked well with our mission. And then just as long as they're local and they seem like they're fitting into our mission of community center, then we're very interested. So.
One thing that I do think people look for when they go to a farmer's market is value. And the prices yet sometimes can be a little higher than they would be at the grocery store. But there is value there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for some people it is difficult. The prices can be a little bit higher for some things, but other things the prices are right there, even with what you're going to find in other places. You're helping sustain a farmer, or a local business person's livelihood. They're bringing the food in themselves, and they have to pay for everything on their own. So I think it's just kind of a nice way of, it's a life choice, I think, where you say, I'm going to choose to put my money towards something it's better quality. It might be a little bit pricey in some aspects, but not in other aspects. But I think it's a worthwhile choice.
Something I've noticed in particular, if you go into the grocery and you're going to buy strawberries or fruits of almost any kind, they usually seem to come from California and Florida and Washington State, whereas this is Illinois and Michigan and Wisconsin.
Correct.
And can you really find a better strawberry than they grow in Michigan?
No. No, they're pretty amazing. And I will say that one struggle with a lot of markets is trying to find farmers who are selling their own produce, because I think it's difficult for some farms to have enough produce to sell at some markets. So we always make sure that we have farms that are selling exactly what they say that they're growing. So we even right now we're going out to visit the different farms and checking out what they're growing and getting to know them and verifying that what they're bringing is actually from their farm. So it shows that it's going to be really fresh and delicious and great. So
with the addition of new vendors, do you have enough space to still allow for all the parking?
Oh, for sure. We're actually not really expanding the size of the market itself. Last year there was a lot of space to move around. I think this year might be a little bit tighter, but that's fine. It kind of keeps kids in. So there's going to be plenty of parking, the same as last year. Yeah, that's one of our things we're really proud of with where we are, is that you don't have to cross a giant street to get to the market. You know, you can just park and come right on in. It's nice for people who are in wheelchairs. It works out really well. So
now all this time we're talking because we know where the market is. We've been there, but many people may not know where the market is. So why don't you tell them that?
Yeah. I still run into people. You want to go ahead?
Well, it's right behind Illinois Bone and Joint, across the street from Crazy Jaws and Tommy's at 8930 Waukegan Road.
And nice, easy place to get into if you're on Waukegan Road. No problem there.
Yeah.
And
just look for our signs on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
That's right. That sign shows up every week, and so far the storms haven't torn it down.
Yes.
Yes, we shall see. Yeah, and we usually have a giant blown up farmer or something like that kind of stands up there, so you can always see him when you're driving by if you miss it. I still run into people in town who don't know that we have a farmers market, and that's my goal, is to make sure every person in this town knows that there's a market.
Well,
so yeah, it's good to get the word out.
I hope we've had enough people tune into Channel 6 by the time that this show airs for the third or fourth time that everyone will be covered.
They'll say, oh, I know about that place. And this year we're really trying to draw in a lot of people from Niles, because Niles doesn't have a market of their own, and we're happy to meet their needs. Des Plaines will not be having a market of their own this year, so we welcome everybody from surrounding neighborhoods and towns and everything. So.
Oh, that's surprising that a village who had a farmer's market wouldn't have one. You would think everyone would want to keep it.
Yeah, I think it's hard for some towns because it does require a lot of volunteer hours, unless it's a paid position, but none of us are paid. This is purely passion. We love doing this. But it takes a lot of hours and a lot of work, and it's hard to do, but it's so worthwhile. It's such a great experience.
Should have asked you this ahead of time. What's the most unusual vendor you've had want to get into the farmer's market?
Oh, unusual vendor. Nothing particularly unusual or bizarre, but I guess we got a pet products salesperson who wanted to sell things that were from China. I'm not sure what they're, not just from China, but from all over the world, that weren't made locally. And we're not allowed to have pets at the market, so I had to turn them down. So that was kind of a hard thing, because I know a lot of people have pets and they'd like to, bring their pets to the market, but we're not allowed to. So I guess that's one of them. But, most of them are just great vendors that have, we can't have too many options. There's, we have a set amount of space, and so yeah.
One thing that I love there is the cheese vendor.
Yes, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, he gets cheeses from a bunch of different farms, mostly in Wisconsin, and they're amazing. There's so many different kinds and flavors, and it's just wonderful. So yeah, we're very glad to have him back.
So now, I mentioned early on that we were going to talk about the special events. So what are the special events that you're going to have this year?
Well, first of all, we have our Mother's Day sale, May 7th, and then our opening day is June 4th. We're going to have a big ribbon cutting. We'll have a local girl from Parkview Elementary singing the national anthem, and then a whole bunch of kids' activities and family-friendly activities that day. And then our big highlight day, among many others, and you can go to our website to look at all of our Facebook page also to look for all of our special events. We have a lot. Our June 25th is Welcome to Morton Grove Day, and I really want to encourage everybody from Morton Grove and surrounding neighborhoods and towns to come out for that day on June 25th. That will be a day to showcase everything, as many things as we can about Morton Grove as far as activities and nonprofits and so many different aspects of Morton Grove. It's kind of a welcome for new residents, and then for people who've lived here for a long time to remember what all the great things there are in town.
So
that's co-hosted. That's co-hosted by the commission, the Community Relations Commission from the village.
So you've got your hands full this summer, and it's going to be a busy summer, and be a busy summer for the Chamber of Commerce as well.
A lot going on.
Well, we have been spending some time talking with Kristina Otte, who is we call you the general manager?
Market manager.
The market manager for the Morton Grove Farmers Market, and with Jackie Liston, who is the executive director of the Morton Grove Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We're going to see a list on our screen in just a moment of all the sponsors and all the vendors who are going to be at the farmers market this season. Remember, May 7th is the first day for the market, and then the market opens up every Saturday after that, starting June 7th, and goes through
June 4th.
June 4th, and rolls through October 15th. So that'll be over on Waukegan Road, right next to the Illinois Bone and Joint. So you want to make sure you get over there. Until next time, I'm Christopher Michael. Thanks for joining us.